This edition of Ask the Doc, I am answering one of the most frequent questions I get on what causes pain, tightness, and constant knots in the traps, and how to get some relief that lasts more than a few days. Expect to learn two common causes of trap pain that most doctors commonly miss, why stretching and rolling them out doesn't produce any long lasting relief, why deep tissue massage on them only makes them worse, why getting a chiropractic adjustment only helps it feel better temporarily, how to get it effectively treated and have long lasting pain relief, and tips and strategies to keep it from coming back. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dr. Matt Maggio. I am a soft tissue injury treatment expert specifically for neck, shoulder, sciatica, and hip pain. My focus is on diagnosing and treating adhesion, also known as scar tissue, and reducing inflammation from chronic injuries without the use of drugs, injections, or surgeries, which does lead to a significant increase in overall functioning, flexibility, and long lasting pain relief. So I get this question, I'd say at least 5 to 10 times per week, and thought I would kind of put them all together and really help give some answers about what's going on with tight traps and how to get them fixed for good. So there are two common causes of trap pain that a majority of providers and practitioners and doctors completely miss. The first one is actually an injury to the joint in the disc in the neck. So essentially inside your neck, you have these joints and these discs, and they're close to the spinal cord and to the nerve. And over time, with a lot of bad postures, maybe some accidents, sitting and looking down too much, puts a lot of wear and tear on all the muscles around the neck. Then those muscles develop a lot of that adhesion. It's like glue that gets in there, makes the muscle weaker, less flexible. Eventually, it puts pressure on the discs and the joints and it starts to squeeze. And when it does, it refers these things called sclerotomes and pain, which you can see here in the chart, and it kind of refers some pain down there as well. Now, what happens is when the discs do get really irritated and annoyed, the traps like to tighten up in a protective mechanism. It's called protective tension. What it does is it tightens up to take the pressure off of that disc and try to relieve it. So a lot of times that trap tension and tightness is happening for a reason, to take the pressure off of the neck. But a lot of doctors think because it hurts on the trap that the trap must be the problem. Now, the other issue that comes in there a lot is what's called an entrapment of a specific nerve called the accessory nerve. So the accessory nerve comes out right behind the ear, and it comes down and attaches on this front muscle here called the SCM, and then it goes on the trap as well. Its main job really is to just move the traps and that SCM. That's all it really does. But over time, like I said, as that scar tissue and that adhesion builds up, it eventually gets stuck to the nerve. And when it gets stuck to the nerve, it creates some symptoms like numbness, aching, some burning, and some tension. And what happens is that entrapment occurs right there where it feels like it's in the trap. And when that nerve gets caught, the muscles really tighten up in another way to protect it and take the pressure off of there. So it'll hurt a lot in there as well. And people continue to think it's a trap problem, but it's actually the nerve getting caught right on top of the trap. Now, a lot of people think, I can just roll that area out, maybe with like a lacrosse ball or a foam roller, or stretch it. And they think it's going to really get in there and start to break down some of that problem. So we always think of that adhesion as like a rubber band that needs to eventually break. Now, when you roll on it or you stretch it, what you do is you kind of put some pressure down there, but you don't actually break that down. What actually has to happen to break down that adhesion buildup around the nerve or in the muscles is you need to get proper depth and then tension into it. When you're just jamming down on it, you're just really pushing on it, and temporarily it does feel better because you're stimulating some muscles and some fibers in there, but it's not actually breaking that problem down. I always say rolling and stretching is really like trying to fix a cavity by brushing and flossing. It's actually going to make it a lot worse. Imagine if you had a big nasty cavity in your tooth and you're trying to brush and floss it, you're actually going to make it angry in the long run, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. Now, a lot of people will also go and get like a deep tissue massage, or might even have like their better half or their partner or their spouse get in there and jam their elbow in there and rub on it. Same thing as well. It's not getting enough tension on that area. It's getting depth and jamming on it, but it's not actually producing any of those long lasting results because it's not making a physical change in the tissue and everything that's building up. Next thing is, people like to get a chiropractic adjustment for some pain relief in the neck. Now, here's the thing. When you get the adjustment, yeah, it does take away some of that pain short term. So I always say, what happens basically when you get an adjustment is it stimulates these things in your nerves. They basically sense pain and all this stuff. And there's another pathway that senses vibration and movement. So when you stimulate those vibration and movement pathways, it temporarily blocks the pain, but it didn't do anything to actually get rid of the adhesion or the scar tissue around the nerve, which is why there's only a temporary result in that pain. It's not long lasting. Next thing I want to just talk about is how to actually get it effectively treated and have some long lasting pain relief. The big thing, like I said, is in order to break this down, you need proper depth, then tension. Most treatments out there really only get the depth component of it. They don't actually get the tension component of it. Now, when you stretch it, you are getting some tension on it, but you're missing out on the depth component. So each one is missing the key. They have to go together. They need proper depth and then proper tension. So what I want to link up in the video now is a demonstration of me treating an accessory nerve entrapment, showing proper depth and proper tension to actually break that down for good. So I'm going to link that up right now.
Drop in and let it come right to you, and go ahead. Go nice and slow. Now we're going to get into accessory nerve treatment. And the accessory nerve is the most common entrapment in the entire human body. And the problem is most practitioners are very compressive when they treat it, and they don't accommodate for the angle of the spine and the superficiality of the nerve. So we're here, and just like that, elbow high, other one there. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to get that depth by leaning in, and this one, little less depth come out, and then your tension is going to be that slow drop. You're going to go. You're going to feel that nerve pull. When that nerve is bad, it'll pull right away.
So a couple take homes from the video, you can see it's very slow, it's precise, it's focused. When these nerve entrapments occur, they're very sensitive. And if you get too much depth and too much tension, you can actually make them pretty angry. If you don't get enough depth and you don't get enough tension, you won't get an effective treatment. So it's getting it just right and being very deliberate and very focused, not in a hurry. It's a very precise type of treatment. It's not just going in there and beating the hell out of the area. You're actually getting an effective treatment so that tissue can respond, heal accordingly, and then start to have long-lasting pain relief. Now, there are some tips and strategies that you can do on your own to keep it from coming back once you get the adhesion and the nerve entrapment removed. A lot of people think, oh, what can I do to fix this on my own? You can't fix it on your own. Imagine trying to fix your cavity on your own. That's not what's going to happen. You need to get to a soft tissue specialist that can actually go in there and address it. Once you do that, you can keep it healthy. I always say, think of that first round of treatment as like getting the cavity drilled, and then you can brush and floss correctly and keep it from coming back. So there's a couple of things you want to do to really keep it healthy once you get the nerve entrapment cleaned up at first. First thing is you want to get hydrated in the morning. So when you first get up in the morning, you've been sleeping all night, your body's pretty dehydrated, your discs are actually pretty dehydrated too, and your discs are very water and fluid based, and they want to have some extra fluid in there. So the first thing you should do when you get up, before you drink a cup of coffee, before you do anything, is try to drink about 20 to 30 ounces of water. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's not. Your body's very dehydrated. When you do that, it's going to go in there and start to pump those discs up a little bit. It's going to get some of that inflammation out of there, and it's going to allow your discs to not be so inflamed so you're not feeling them throughout the day. Next thing you want to do is just get up and walk around for a little bit when you first get up, for 5 or 10 minutes, even if you just walk around the house. That's going to start getting your muscles moving, things pumping up, getting the inflammation out of there, and get you in a good place so things start moving for the rest of the day. Because basically what happens is when you wake up and you have all these problems, there's a lot of inflammation in there. And if that inflammation starts to pool throughout the day, it's going to come back more at the end of the day. So the more you do in the beginning, the better. All I'm asking you to do is drink a little bit of water and go for a little bit of walk. Next thing that I always teach a lot of our clients is this idea, and I call it the 4-finger rule. So the rule is anytime maybe you're on a computer or looking down at a device, you want to have 4 fingers in between your chin and your chest. And they're not fingers together, they're 4 fingers spread out, because the more and more you look down, the more wear and tear you put on there, the more that nerve gets compromised, the more scar tissue and adhesion builds up. Another thing that really helps is what I call these things called 10-minute laydowns throughout the day. So say you're at work and you got a really busy day, you're stuck on the computer, but you're being smart, you're doing the 4-finger rule, going across the board. But every once in a while, you just need to lay down, set a timer, lay down on the floor for about 10 minutes. That's really going to decompress your muscles, your discs, and everything in there. It's going to allow some things to kind of just chill out so you're not really building up that inflammation throughout the day. And then lastly, once you get all the adhesion removed, you're doing all those good things, hydration, morning movement, walking around, the laydowns, you do want to start to build up the mid part of your back. That area just gets wrecked with our modern postures and sitting and just being in bad positions all the time. We want to really strengthen some of those back muscles to really help us bring some things back. There's a couple exercises you can do, some extension work. One thing that I really recommend is a exercise called rucking. It's basically where you put some weight in a backpack and it goes on your chest and sits there. It really allows you to build up some of those back muscles so you can hold your head in a much better place. That's all I got for you in the video this week. If you're dealing with constant tight traps, pain, and tension, it's not something that should be a normal part of life. If you've been dealing with that problem for more than 6 months, you've seen many other providers with little or even worse, no relief, then reach out to us directly and we can get you set up with an amazing soft tissue treatment expert in your area and get you on that path to feeling and functioning a heck of a lot better. All the information for that is listed in our profile. I appreciate you watching and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.